I'm so excited to meet this man and introduce him to you. I'm going to let him tell his story, but in 2011, he received reports that Afghani women were being severely beaten by a commander when she went looking for her son. Turned out her son had been kidnapped and chained to a bed and was repeatedly raped by that same Afghan commander, our ally. 2 of our soldiers were told to stand down. They refused to. It's never wrong to do the right thing. And I want you to hear very clearly if you're in the military. You will be judged. At some point, you will be judged. Whether that is by man or in the next realm, you will be judged. And standing with your hands in the pocket, no matter how badly you feel, no matter you say you couldn't do anything, you could do something. You might serve men, but you answer to God. And I'm sorry, we're not that far lost that our military doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. You know it. And I want to introduce you to former Special Forces Captain Dan Quinn, who acted and knew it's always right to do the right thing. Captain, how are you, sir?
Good, thanks. How you doing, Glenn? Thank you very much for having me on the show.
It's a real honor. I mean, I think in the last week, I've met a few people here and I've talked to a few people. I think we're beginning to see the giants that will be remembered when all of these dark days are past, the giants that will be remembered, and you're one of them. A lot of people are hearing these stories, and we just can't believe this is what our military has turned into. Can you explain the situation over there?
Sure. So I'll make it quick, Glenn, but basically Charles Marlin and I were in a remote area of Afghanistan, and we were embedded with a local village, working with the people, and our mission was to bring security, development, and governance to this province. So we were relatively isolated, about an hour away from the next American force, and we had a very close relationship with all the villagers because we were living with them. As we were living there were multiple incidents of sexual assault that came up. The worst one being a 14-year-old girl that was raped by a man. We brought this up to our military chain of command, also through the Afghan government, and the military chain of command just told us everything has to go through the Afghan government. Just make sure you support them and work with them. Try to persuade them to kind of guide them to inflict proper justice. But at the end of the day, it's their decision. So that's what we did. And the man that raped the 14-year-old girl was found guilty, received 1 day in jail, and then the girl, because she had been raped, was no longer virgin and was considered unmarriable. So she was forced to either marry her rapist or to kill herself. So she decided to marry the rapist. And,
oh, my God.
And so I reported this up, and it was just,
And he served a day in jail? One day?
Yeah, 24 hours.
1 day. Wow.
And and my chain of command was empathetic to the situation, but at the end of the day, just said, look, there's nothing you can do. We have to support the local government here, and
bull crap,
and that's that. So fast forward now a few weeks or a month or so later, and we got the report that you just went through before I came on, saying that one of our commanders had kidnapped a 14-year-old boy, chained him to his bed, and raped him repeatedly for over the course of 10 days to 2 weeks. And when this boy's mother came to get her son back, she was beaten as well. So the mother and her son came to our camp and just said, look, we know that this is going to continue to happen. We've gone to local government. They're indifferent. You and I both know that they're not going to do anything to stop this. You're the only one that can do something about it. Please help. So at that point, I just I felt compelled that both Charles Marlin and myself felt compelled that there was we had to take action, and we couldn't just kind of blame our the military rules and regulations and kind of pass the buck to the next guy in our chain of command, and decided to. And all we decided to do was we said, hey, we'll have this guy, we'll invite this guy to our camp and make sure that this is true and explain the severity of his actions, and we'll go from there. So we invited him to our camp. He came over and we explained. We said, hey, these are the allegations against you. He agreed to them and just said, yeah, that did happen. Explained the severity of the actions, and he just started laughing and saying it wasn't a big deal. And all we were saying was, look, this may be acceptable in your culture, but it wasn't, because the elders had complained about it to us. So the whole, it's part of their culture and you have to accept it. That's not necessarily true, because the majority of the population does not support this type of behavior, and it's something that the elders had complained to us about as well. So
I don't care if anybody cares. I don't care if they like it in that culture. It's evil. And if the culture embraces it, then it's an evil culture, and we shouldn't have anything to do with it.
Agreed. I agree, Glenn.
So at that point, did you or Martland hit him at that point, right?
I did, yeah. I was the first, and Charles followed suit.
May I just hold on just a second? May I just say?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Okay, so then what happened?
Yeah, and it wasn't this. It didn't last long. Once we just made sure that we got our message across, which was that if you go near that boy again or his mother, there are going to be very serious consequences. And we sent him home, and that was it. And then at that point, he had told a few of his friends who had told the other Americans in our area, the Americans that were about an hour away from us, and they called me and asked me what happened, and I said, yeah, I absolutely did assault him, and here's why I did it. And if there's any repercussions, that's fine. Send them my way. And the next day, we had a helicopter come pick Charles and I up. We were relieved of our command immediately, and
wow.
They went about investigation and found that Charles and I were both going to be relieved of command, sent home from Afghanistan early. We were mission complete, and we came back.
Dan, let me tell you something. I know a lot of heroes that have done a lot of great things in our military. As you may know, I know a lot of you guys, and I have tremendous respect. But I have to tell you, it will be an honor to shake your hand. There is almost no one that I have heard their story that I have more respect for than you. And I have to tell you, the two of you, you will be blessed for taking a stand. You didn't kill this guy. I would have snapped the guy's neck, quite honestly. But you didn't kill him. You didn't get out of control. You did all the right things. You just did the right thing and said, hands off. And if we're over there trying to win the hearts and minds of people, how can we possibly win the hearts and minds of people when we are allowing people to be raped under our nose? It's disgusting.
It's unbelievable.
But I just want to tell you, I admire you. I really admire you. How can we help Charles Martland?
Sure. So, you might have seen the update we got earlier in the week that his appeal was denied by the Army. That came down from the Secretary of the Army. However, Congressman Duncan Hunter has done a fantastic job of getting this in front of.
He's a good guy.
He is in front of the Secretary of Defense. So this is still ongoing with the Secretary of Defense. He's aware of it, and as of my, it's my understanding that he's staffing it and still looking into the matter. So
Dan, you left.
The best thing we can do would be to, keep writing your congressman, writing him, and just keep the momentum going and keep putting pressure on.
Because you left the military voluntarily, right? And Charles Martland was he's trying to stay. Is that right?
Yeah, and he was allowed to reenlist, and we were told that this punishment wasn't a career ender. So he decided to reenlist, and since this incident has served with distinction. He was just last year he was rated the number 2 out of 400 instructors at the Special Forces qualification course. So of all the instructors that teach new Special Forces trainees, he was rated the second best of all of them. He's just a remarkable soldier and person. And he hasn't let this detract him from what his mission is, which right now his mission is to train new Green Berets, and he just continues to perform great with that mission, just like he did every other mission he's had. And so, like I said, the best thing to do is support him, would just be keep the momentum going, keep sending letters to your congressman, keep putting pressure on your local congressman, and letting Duncan Hunter know that you support him. And let's just keep the momentum going. Hope that the government decides to do the right thing here.
Call your senator, call your congressman, call the Pentagon, call your local recruiting offices, and tell them that, and this is not coming from Dan, so I'm sorry, Dan, that you have to be around to hear this, but you call your local recruiting offices and say, because we're the heartland, we're the ones who send our boys, our sons, our brothers, our fathers it's not the New Yorkers. It's the people in the heartland. It's the people of this audience. And you call your recruiting office and say, if this is the way you treat people who stand and do the right thing, I will never send my son into the military. Never. Because we either stand for something or we don't. We're already not rescuing guys. Oh, we'll run in. Oh, good God, somebody builds a little clock bomb in Irving and the president swoops in. But God forbid we save anybody in Benghazi. No, they just die and they're left to die there. We have changed our military and they're going dark. If we don't stand and say, no, I'm sorry, but it is our business. If somebody is being raped, we're the good guys. You call your local recruiting office because that message will get back to the Secretary of Defense. And you tell them in no uncertain terms, I will never allow my son, my daughter, I will never allow anyone I know, and I will scream it to high heaven from the rooftops. Do not enlist because this is going dark. And if we don't know the difference between light and darkness, good and evil, then we should not send our sons and daughters into that. You don't treat somebody like this. It is never wrong to do the right thing.
That was not endorsed by Dan Quinn.
Dan, God bless you, man. Thank you.
It wasn't, Glenn. And just a caveat into that, both Charles and I have nothing but respect for the Army and the military.
I know that.
Charles, after all this, he still wants to stay in. He still wants to serve his country. He still wants to stay in the Army. We both, Dan,
I'm not saying, that's why I said I'm sorry. I apologize to you. I know you guys. I know guys like you, and I know I've just had it. And if we the people don't stand up, you guys are getting the shaft when it comes to the VA. You're getting the shaft when it comes to all of these rules of engagement. We're worse than the people that in the 1960s that when you returned home, we spat on you. At least in the 1960s, they knew you were at war. Now, I don't even know what it is. And we're allowing our Pentagon to take and abandon our soldiers and go to the dark side. I know it's not you, Dan, and I know it's not what you would have to say. It's what I have to say.
No, I appreciate that. And, 95% of the military is doing great things. And
I know they are.
It's just, we need to change a couple of things here and just, keep the Army and the military the greatest organization in the world. And
God bless you.
That's all we want. That's all we want is for Charles to stay in the military. And losing him would certainly be a very negative thing for the Army. So
thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate it. God bless you. I hope to shake your hand someday. And by the way, that's what he believes. I believe when the next president comes in, the next president needs to fire all of these generals up at the top of the Pentagon and sweep that rat's nest out and put honorable, decent men back at the top of our military.
Yes, maybe a little caffeine before the show to get a little excited. You're just so calm. It's too laid back.
Sponsor this half hour is